Down in North Carolina, there's been a Border Patrol sting, big ICE operation in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, the Washington Post kind of had an almost sort of darkly funny piece about it. The poor country clubs have been unable to, get the mint juleps out to their members on time here because they're because of the ice raids and everything like that. But they also revealed that when the ice raids were going on, some 30,000 students skipped school, suggesting that there's tens of thousands potentially of children who are not there in the country legally getting these educations here off the back of the local property taxpayers. This seems to suggest that really the illegal migration problem and its burden on infrastructure, education, schools is probably much more massive in some ways than I think even Donald Trump kind of understood coming into this.
I agree completely. However, there is a balancing act here. We have job shortages in many areas that are not being filled. I think the president's immigration stance is popular, but it should be gradual and sequenced. First, you go after the hardcore criminals, then you go after people who are clearly in violation and have ignored court orders for leaving the country or showing up for a court hearing. I think that the workplace raids and the raids in front of schools, yes, of course, those people have to be responsible for their actions and they're breaking the law. But I think the American people want this sequenced because what they believe is if you get rid of the most highly visible and obvious cases, you're going to have more self-deportations. The vast majority of people that are leaving the country right now are leaving on their own, self-deportation, probably about 2 million. So I think that a little bit of nuance and is probably called for here because, look, there are some abuses here. There are some people with real legitimate documentation and even citizenship who are being picked up and thrown into jail. We need to minimize that. Doesn't mean we stop the immigration enforcement, but we need to be calibrated and sensible about it.
Yeah, but John, though, there's been some other revelations this week that were just wild. Christopher Rufo in the City Journal publication, an excellent publication, had this amazing report about fraud going in. Now, these are legal migrants, refugee migrants from Somalia, but apparently within that community there has been a massive fraud operation where millions of dollars of taxpayer money has allegedly been stolen through welfare fraud schemes, and some of that has been funneled to Somalia-based terror group Al-Shabaab, creating this sort of circular reasoning where, people come in and then they send the money back to make a civil war worse, and then more people wind up coming. How does this work? How is this good policy, John Fund?
Well, Somalia hasn't worked for over 30 years. Somalia is a mess. It's not really a government. And the clans and the tribal wars have been transferred over to the United States. This is really bad because there's politically incorrect in Minneapolis where 80,000 Somalis have been situated. It's politically incorrect to say this, but here is what Qasim Busuri, who is a former St. Paul City Council member, this is a government official elected from the Somali community, says about this 77 indictments that there have been about massive fraud in welfare and COVID programs. Quote, "The system is broken. That's not our fault," Busari says. There are always going to be people who commit fraud. It's up to the government to make sure people aren't taking advantage of the system, unquote. Now, even in the Somali language, the words "don't blame the victim" can be understood. This is blaming American taxpayers for the fact that Somali criminals are ripping off the government and then shipping the money to terrorist groups overseas. This is unconscionable. This only makes matters worse in Somalia and worse in the United States. There's massive voter fraud in Minneapolis. They almost elected a Democratic Socialist mayor from the Somali community. I believe we have to have a crackdown on this because, look, people integrate in this country all the time. We have communities that have immigrated here and basically joined the American dream. Somalia, unfortunately, sends people who don't assimilate. We don't encourage them to assimilate. Instead, many of them have discovered a new job occupation in this country, and that's ripping off the government.
John Fund, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much. Very quick question. What's your favorite Thanksgiving side dish?
It's simple. It's the stuffing. You can make it many different ways. And it's the only side dish that you could, with a preparation, turn into its own meal.
Perfect.
Can't do that with mashed potatoes.
Perfect answer, John Fund. Love that stuffing. Enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend. Thank you so much, John.